Hi there, my name's Nicola Wilson. I run HypnoBirthing the Mongan Methods classes in Kirkliston in Edinburgh, and I've recently been interviewing couples who have completed the course with me just so that we can hear the experience firsthand from people who say that hypnobirthing has completely transformed their experience. So today we're going to be hearing from a couple who had a lovely natural birth, and I worked very closely with them up until the birth of their daughter. So if you're expecting at the moment, I'm really excited for you to hear this story because it truly is amazing. So welcome to Gillian and Kevin. Thank you so much for coming to speak to me today. Gillian and Kevin are here to tell us all about their experience of hypnobirthing. And I just want to ask you, Gillian, how does hypnobirthing help to prepare you for the birth of your baby?
So I feel sort of hypnobirthing helped us in two main ways. I think the first one was I felt a lot less apprehensive about the birth. So quite early on in my pregnancy, I'd started to think, oh gosh, you know, excitement's here, but also a little bit nervous about delivery day, if you like, and the birth of the baby. So I feel that the hypnobirthing course really helped me find ways to help me relax my mind and in turn my body. There was sort of breathing techniques, visualisation techniques, which I used throughout my pregnancy, and in particular in the last few weeks on the lead up to around about my due date. The other main thing that really helped for me was I felt a lot more prepared. So the hypnobirthing course covers a lot of the sort of procedures or options that might be offered depending on how your labour and birth unfolds, which are covered really well in the antenatal course. But I think the hypnobirthing course just allows you to consider them from a different perspective. And also what it taught me was to sort of, it built my confidence in being able to trust my instinct. And I think that was really key for us, wasn't it? And it's sort of really important as the labour and the days leading up to the labour unfolded. That allowed us to come up with our birth plan, which was, you know, as I call it, our plan A, or ideal. But ultimately we knew that, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, ultimately it was our baby that was going to decide how it all worked out on the day. So while we might have an ideal or a plan, you know, we were aware of the different options and, you know, what would we take over others if the need arose. And I think one of the sort of hypnobirthing affirmations which always stick in my mind, and I can't remember the exact words, but it's about, you know, just being able to consider or stay calm when, you know, no matter, you know, what turns up for your birth, you know, no matter what unfolds, you know, just being prepared for it calmly, sort of thing. But yeah, I think sort of those were the two main things for me.
Absolutely. So it's giving you that confidence to trust your body, that it knows what to do, and also shows for whatever your circumstances are that hypnobirthing can really help you to stay calm in that moment, no matter you know, if it's not going 100% to plan, that you still have that mental preparation to cope with that on the day. Lovely. So did you go into labour naturally, Gillian, and can I ask how many weeks pregnant you were when you went into labour?
Yeah, sure. So I was 42 weeks pregnant when my labour started naturally. I think, you know, what I would probably say was, you know, in the lead up to your due date, your NHS due date, you know, there can be a little bit of pressure to consider other options, for example, induction. And on the run up to, you know, our baby's due date, I'd stayed really calm, I was relaxed, I was, you know, feeling really good about things. And as the date passed, sort of gradually a little bit of worry and anxiety sort of crept in. And I felt I was coming out of like that sort of really calm zone that I'd been in and I'd worked hard to be in. So I was also aware that, you know, sort of any tension that started creeping into my body would potentially delay my labour starting naturally myself. So I was really sort of quite keen to get back into that zone, and I feel that's where hypnobirthing really came into play for me. You know, I knew that, you know, although I'd tried sort of all the other suggestions, you know, sort of helping the labour start naturally, I knew my mind was the hurdle, I knew that was the problem. So the day before our baby's arrival, I had a suite by our community midwife team, and also that evening I practiced self-hypnosis. So yourself, you kindly read me the script about, you know, fear and tension release. And during that reading, you know, I did really start to calm, had a couple of cramping feelings, and my breathing and sort of my mindset really changed after the reading. I felt calm, I felt relaxed again, I was ready to just whatever happened, and you know, to face into it sort of thing. I went to my bed early that night, practiced my rainbow relaxation as I had every night on the lead up to the birthing day, and then during the night I started to feel more intense cramping, which, you know, at the time I didn't really know what it was because, you know, never had anything like that before. I hadn't experienced Braxton Hicks, so I just each time one came along I just practiced my calm breathing from the HypnoBirthing course. I managed to doze in between the, you know, surges, or maybe some people know as contractions, and yeah, I probably counted between about 11 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe about 24, 26, and each time just, you know, practicing the calm breathing, but yeah, so started naturally.
Amazing, yeah, and I think it's so amazing to hear that you sort of knew through what you learned in the HypnoBirthing course that your mind was the hurdle, and I think that that's really, really important to understand that, because that is really what HypnoBirthing is about, isn't it? It's about preparing your mind, and if you do have fear and tension in the body, you know, we birth with that sort of primal part of our brain that knows if the circumstances aren't right, if there's fear, if there's danger, the body doesn't perform like it should. So that tension and fear, to deal with that is huge. It's so important. So in HypnoBirthing, we describe labour and birth as two separate phases. So you have the thinning and opening phase, which most people will know as dilating, when the cervix goes to 10 centimetres. And then we have our birthing phase, where the baby is actually making their descent. So there are specific breathing techniques for each. There's specific visualizations, affirmations for each phase. So I just wondered if you could first talk a little bit about that thinning and opening phase, so that labour process where the cervix opens and dilates to 10 centimetres. So could you just tell us about that sort of part of your labour first of all?
Yeah, so during that part, you know, as you say, some people might think about being sort of the established labour part. That didn't really get going for me till probably mid-morning. So once I got up and got started on my day, I think sort of the effects of gravity, you know, during the night, as I described, I had the sort of cramping. I was lying down. When I then stood up, I think things really started to progress.
Gravity,
exactly. You know, I remember, you know, standing in the shower and having to sort of, you know, hunker down at that point, drying my hair, stop, start, and each time it happened, I just kept going with my breathing. So sort of got myself showered and ready for the day, and then during the morning, I sat in my birthing ball in the living room, listened to my rainbow relaxation, listened to my affirmations on repeat, and really just used a few of the visualization techniques as well. You know, just kept sort of that calm process hopefully going, and then my midwife arrived about midday. About an hour or so later, she examined me and said that, you know, it was good news, things were progressing well. I think at that point it was about 3 centimetres, and I said, you know, what would I need to do to make things progress a little bit more? She said maybe be a bit more active. So rather than sitting on my ball, I walked around my living room and my downstairs. And then within, I think, the hour, my waters broke, and then within an hour again, our baby arrived. So it all happened very quickly. So I think what people maybe think of as established labour phase was under about 6 hours. So
amazing for a first baby, isn't it?
So it, you know, it felt, it was a, you know, good experience.
And how did the breathing technique sort of help during that, the thinning and opening phase, and then the birthing phase?
So I'd say that the breathing technique was, without a doubt, you know, my main sort of help during that process. So the calm breathing, and also sort of like, you know, regulating just sort of each time a surge happens, just you know, taking the breath, you know, the power of the breath was immense. It really helped me. and I used a few other visualizations, and sort of you were sort of rubbing my back and things as well. But yeah, you know, that all really came into play for me to keep myself progressing the labour through, but also using my breath as sort of my aid, if you like. And when it then came to the sort of actual birth phase, HypnoBirthing has the birthing breathing as well, which unfortunately I didn't get a chance to really use, although I practiced it, and that was really because one of those events that unfold, for example, is that sort of our daughter was just sort of really coming along too quickly at that point. So it was advised by my midwife, and I took her advice. I felt the right thing to do was to basically to push, and I had a very strong urge to push. So I didn't get to practice the birth breathing or enable it at that point and use it, although I was aware of it. As I say, it happened very quickly at that point. The descent of basically her daughter was just, you know, there wasn't really time, if you like, to use the birth breathing at that point.
She was just on her way fast. and if you've got that overwhelming urge as well, and it is about listening to your body too, isn't it? And I think that, you know, the breathing techniques in hypnobirthing, and I think for people that have quicker labours, you know, hypnobirthing is proven to reduce the length of women's labours, and the techniques that we use are maximising the efficiency of every surge. So that's really what can be attributed to that with you know, labours that do progress well, because not only are you calm and that's getting all the right hormones flowing, you're breathing properly and you're getting all the oxygen to the muscles of the uterus the way that it needs to be, and therefore you have less surges because everyone's working really well. So that's great. Okay, and can I just ask you, Kevin, how was your experience of being a birth partner to Gillian, and how did hypnobirthing sort of help prepare you for that role through the classes?
So I think, you know, before the kind of day of birth and things like that, the classes really helped me to, I guess, understand some of the things that Gillian was going through at that time. Prepare me to understand some of the things that Gillian would then go through leading up to the birth and then during the birth, which, you know, I guess from a birth partner's perspective, to be able to not put yourself in their shoes, but just almost to be aware of what's possibly coming up. It prepares you for, okay, you know, if this happened, this is how I would help, or if that happened, I would do something different, which was really, really useful. I think some of the other things that helped me was using those calm breathing. Obviously I was using it for a different reason, but I was using it so that I could stay calm.
That's really key, isn't it?
Because obviously the calmer I am, then the calmer that Gillian will be, and the easier it is for Gillian to, you know, go through this, and for, you know, baby to arrive, which really helped. And using those kind of visualizations was really strong for me, because it's almost it kind of almost allows you to plan for each different scenario, or visualize each different scenario, and then you have a kind of set of, you know, tools or things that, okay, if this happens, I'll do this and this, if that happens, I'll do that. So those things for me were really strong and really, really useful. And being, you know, birth partner to Gillian, you know, I obviously I wanted to help as much as I could, aware that there will be other people there, or perhaps other kind of, you know, professionals around, but I wanted to kind of do my part. I just didn't want to be, you know, sort of, you know, passenger to this and just almost like hand over to Gillian and someone else. I wanted to actually help
and have that active role.
Exactly, and all the kind of tools and the kind of techniques that, you know, we've learned throughout the class really did help that, and really did allow me to kind of play an active, you know, assisting role in it all.
That's amazing. It's so key for the birth partners to remain calm as well, and to be that support. And I think just to know what you can do as well, and I think that's something that the HypnoBirthing course gives you, quite specific tools and techniques, doesn't it, that you can use during that process, rather than sort of feeling like you're not quite sure what you should be doing when. It's quite prescriptive for partners to say, you know, I think you do even get a script, don't you, to you know, just sort of examples of what you can say, what you can do, and it's very sort of detailed for partners as well. And what would you say to any dads who maybe feel a little bit sort of apprehensive about coming along to classes? Because I know that can be a thing for partners or for dads, maybe to not quite know what to expect about, you know, the course. So what would you say to anybody who is in that boat?
I think, you know, going from what we experienced and my thoughts before I attended the course, I think first and foremost you have to approach it with, again, an open mind. So you can't go in with that closed mindset of, oh, this is just something for, you know, mums, and okay, I'll just come along and I'll just, you know, switch off and not kind of listen. If you want to be effective and you really want to, you know, really help, you have to kind of listen, you have to learn, you have to almost practice some of it yourself as well. And I guess the kind of biggest piece of advice I'd probably say is, you know, use those techniques, and, you know, don't just, you know, come along to the class and think, well, you know, if I just come along one night then that's it, and then I can just go off and do, you know, other things. You really do need to invest in it as well. And I think when you do spend that time investing in it, and you do listen and you do learn, I think the benefits to obviously yourself, but also the benefits to mum as well are, you know, far-reaching, and they're kind of, you know, kind of longer lasting as well. So some of the techniques that we use during the class around, you know, staying calm and, you know, being able to visualize things, those are things that you can use in just, you know, everyday life. They're not just tools that, you know, you can use for this. So it's not just, you know, benefits of, you know, now, it's benefits that, you know, you can use, you know, going forward. So I would give that piece of advice probably to dads.
And that's such a good point as well, that I think we're all living such busy, fast-paced lives today, that practicing relaxation it's really incredible. It can be life-changing for people, because when you experience that level of relaxation as well, it kind of makes you think, gosh, I need to kind of try and be in this state a bit more. I think it's becoming new parents too. You know, it's a roller coaster ride, isn't it? So the techniques can actually help you in those newborn days, in those first few weeks and months as well, and maybe feel when you've been through that process of planning your birth in a lot of detail together and attending the classes together, it just sort of makes you feel that wee bit closer as well, doesn't it? I think that's what I've heard from some couples, that you're in this together, and you're totally you're learning it all together, and you're preparing together. You're going, that's amazing. And in terms of anyone who's sort of thinking about hypnobirthing, either pregnant with their first baby or is looking for a way to have a more positive birth, maybe with a subsequent baby, because that can, if people have maybe not had a great experience with their first baby and then are looking for, a more positive way to prepare, what would you say to somebody who's maybe not quite decided about hypnobirthing?
I think for hypnobirthing, for me, if you're even just slightly curious, it's worth finding out a bit more about. I only sort of have given birth once with hypnobirthing, using that's my approach that I took, and I can't imagine any other way of doing it, to be honest. I think that go with, as Kevin mentioned before, find out about it with an open mind, consider like the other options, but I think for me, hypnobirthing, it's really as well about how much you practice it. So if you think, oh, I'll attend one class or a couple of classes and tick, that's it, done, I'm prepared, and we're sorted, that's probably not the way to go. What I think you want to do is practice the techniques as much as possible, and I think the more you practice them, the more you're going to get out of it. And actually, I think the more you benefit you're going to get on the day from it.
Yeah, so to be committed.
To be committed,
well.
exactly, yeah, completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, if you're a wee bit curious, definitely find out about it. It was through a friend's recommendation that, I had looked into it from, they'd had a really positive birth experience.
Yeah.
And I think when people first mention hypnobirthing or sort of say it to somebody, I think they think it's a bit alternative or a bit sort of like hippie or something, but ultimately all it boils down to is, can breathe in, self-hypnosis and visualisation techniques, and that to help calm your mind and then in turn your body. So if you sort of cut it all down, that's really what it boils down to.
And I think as well, it is scientific as well. It's fact based. So anybody that's maybe apprehensive about the classes in terms of what are we going to do in classes, what's it going to be like, I think that can sometimes be maybe an issue for people, and usually after the first class people quickly realise that actually
there's logic to
this is really logical. And this is about preparing for the most important day in the best possible way, so that you have the best
experience. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for coming along to speak to me today, and congratulations again on your beautiful baby girl. She's just a little delight. And it's been lovely to see her coming along to baby massage and yoga as well. It's been wonderful working with both of you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think if it wasn't for HypnoBirthing and your help, Nicola, I think it would have quite a different experience. So we're grateful for that forever. Really appreciate it.
That's amazing to hear.
Thank you very much.